Starting now then. Patch 21.8 live now, and definitely live by the point of the YouTube video. Features a whole brand new overhaul patch for Battlegrounds, including armor being added to heroes, overhauls on Quilboars and pirates as a tribe, and brings back our boy Mythrax. This is happening straight today, out of nowhere, suddenly patch. So we'll skip through all the standard stuff because nobody cares about that. The armor system, this is going to be the majority of the patch review, guys. This is a huge change to the game. And the reason being is that it gives viability to a bunch of heroes that are typically underplayed. And is going to make it, especially if they get a nice set of balance here, it's going to make it so that you have the ability to play heroes that more tailor toward your style of play, as opposed to what is the best thing analytically. The averages are showing this is the best hero. Now, don't get me wrong. This just changes the calculation. There's still going to be a correct choice of what hero you should play if playing perfectly. And playstyle should never have an impact on the game, because you should adapt your own play to match what is the correct thing to do in the meta, not the other way. Not, hey, I'm going to play this because it fits me better. You should learn to be better at everything, right? If you're getting better at the game in a competitive environment. That being said, people aren't like that. People want to play whatever they want. And when you see, oh, I'm pretty good at Jiraxis, and now it has 8 extra health, I can play Jiraxis now and do better with it. That's a good change, especially for newer players, where they can play whatever they're comfortable with and they're not at just a massive disadvantage. It's a pretty cool start to changing a bunch of the lesser played heroes. Now, I'm going to say that first part saying, this is great, I love this patch. The second part is this is going to be a nightmare to balance, because the behavior of a hero at different MMR ranges is night and day different. And that's no different than what we had before, though. It's already incredibly hard to balance Hearthstone. This is just a new calculation. It didn't make it harder to balance. In fact, it gives another knob to try to make it a little bit more balanced across the ranges. But it's the inherent problem where you have a massive group of players that are varying skill levels. Something is going to be really powerful to a new player, and something's going to be really powerful to an established player, and those things aren't necessarily the same. So something like, you take, for example, Flurgle, or Patches, or Ysera, which massively overperform at lower ratings, they have varying levels of success at higher ratings. Ysera, still really good. Flurgle, moderately good. Patches, really bad in the scope of this current meta. Yet all 3 of them are high-tier heroes at lower ratings. Why? Because, simpler hero that gives you an established game plan, win condition, etc., etc., overperforms compared to the average player playing some hero that you have to make a lot of decisions for. All right, let's get this thing a little bit bigger and start going over this ever so slightly. Now, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours and hours. What I would like to do here is really talk about what are the potential outliers and problems that exist in terms of the classification of these heroes. For those of you that don't know what I'm showing, this is the armor tier chart for each of the heroes in the game. And every hero is going to start with 0 to 10 armor at the start of the game, aka temporary hit points, right? You might as well have just changed the baseline health of those heroes, but this is a more visual way to apply it, instead of everybody starting with like, oh, this one has 34, and this one has 43, and this one has 47. Everybody starts with 40 health, except for Patchwork, and then has a little armor amount on it. Kind of nice. Do you agree with the grouping? Absolutely not. But then again, would I ever expect a set of devs to release a patch where I'm like, this is all completely perfect? No, absolutely not. We're going to end up in a position where there are some things that are busted and some things are not. Yo, RDU. Coming in hot, raiding with like everybody on Twitch. Good to know. RDU raiding with this patch review. Great. Thanks, guys. No. We'll just fast forward through. The major things I'm going to focus on here are really just the heroes that I think are slightly outliers. I think this is a really good system as a whole because it makes it so that playing a few heroes that are more situational become better in an environment that is not normally like that highly situational place that you would play them. Now, there are some outliers here, and there's some heroes that are going to benefit way more from armor than others. Typically, those heroes are going to be the heroes that need time to stabilize a game, aka Cat or Rag, which are heroes that naturally don't have hero powers to start the game, but their hero power gets better comparatively as you move further into the game, right? The chance that a person dies on a later turn is much higher. Rag doesn't even have a hero power for the first 6 turns of the game, then marginal value in the middle turns of those games. There you go. See, there's the notification, Sharon Walker. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Damn, I came here expecting a YouTube intro for some reason. Really like it, by the way. Great job, yo, Hiki. Thank you so much for that compliment. A few others that are really far in outlier range here are, say, for example, Alex Strasza. Note what happened during spell meta. Spell meta, we had a time period where getting access to 1 extra gold was viable on turn 4, and Alex Strasza went from being a tier 4 unplayable hero to a high tier 2 hero in the right hands. Small tweaks can be massive for the viability of heroes. And as always, the big problem when it comes to Alex Strasza is that you cannot get online. You spend forever trying to get to a point that's like, man, if I just had one more turn, we would be okay. Those first turns suck, but you get strong and then you can try to stabilize. Same with Bran. Bran, I agree completely. Warrior curve or Chinese curve Bran and or Rafam curve even sometimes is really slow. You take a lot of damage and then you're looking for time to be able to level the triple into 5s. For example, once you have a Bran plus 2 5s, you usually stabilize and win the lobby. Bran's another one that gets a lot better if you just give him a little more time. Yo, Sloth Style TV. Thank you for the Prime sub in the 3 months. What about, why is it the Chinese curve? Because they're terrified to show their knees. Shy knees curve. You clever. The other ones that fall into this category, typically I would say are Gallywix, which I have no clue why this is a tier 4 hero. This one seems like a massive misplacement. Like, are these armor values going to be changing depending on the tribes that are banned? Because there are a lot of heroes here, Gallywix, Shutterwalk, that are legitimately high tier 2 to low tier 1 range heroes in the right set of bans, and then a tier 4 hero considering the wrong set of bans. So if you universally give Gallywix, say, 4 to 7 armor, and he's a tier 1 hero with better armor in good lobbies, and a tier 4 hero should be down in this range in the worst of lobbies, then it's going to make it very polar, where Gallywix is now a very feast or famine hero depending on the tribes that are banned. One of the best heroes in the game and one of the worst heroes in the game. Probably changing with the tribes available. That's probably why there's a range hero on the armor, but that doesn't move them from armor ranges, right? Armor classifications, the 0 category, the 2 to 5 category. So Gallywix, for example, as a hero, is probably the 3rd best hero in the game if you have all 4 token tribes, all 4 economy units in the game, for example. And if you remove elementals, beasts, and murlocs, nobody in their right mind is going to touch this hero. So moving the armor between 4 and 7, not what I meant to do, isn't going to fix that problem, right? It's going to be like, he should be moving from 1 or 0 to 10. So it's one of those, like, this classification chart, while nice to illustrate, hopefully doesn't completely restrict the armor range for the hero. You would hope that, given all the data that they have, that they should be able to move this guy between categories depending on bans, and likewise with all other heroes. And that way you get to a point where, like, there's a little bit more balance, because there's a lot of swingy heroes which are really dependent on tribes being in or out. Other ones that strike me as a little bit out of place, obviously Shutterwalk. Reno. Chinese Curve Reno just takes a lot of early damage, but is really good at stabilizing. And that one, cannot say it enough times, like, this, in the right lobby, is a top 5 hero. Once again, not tier 1 category, tier 3 category. 3 to 6 armor on Reno. There are a lot of times where Reno is by far the best hero you can take when given a couple options. New hero tier 4, we're not to that point yet. A couple of the low tier heroes, like look at Arana. Arana has, in the past, almost always been a low tier hero on average. But if you give Arana the best set of units available, best set of tribes available, Arana is a perfectly viable hero. Demon Sauralisk in this meta is incredibly strong. You give me a Demon Sauralisk lobby and give me 10 armor on Arana, and I'm going to pick that every time. Yeah, sure, it doesn't get first place, but if you can almost guarantee getting online because of the 10 extra armor, and you almost always top 4 with this, like its average goes through the roof. The weird one, right? Lich being last tier is another one. Like you effectively give Lich 5 extra gold for that 10 armor, right? Then it's like you can use your hero power if you want it or not. You compare that to Omu level, and they're basically the same hero. It's kind of crazy. Like you only really take advantage of 8 gold extra on Omu. It's actually really, 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 really hard to balance this. Now, I said it before, and before the raid, this isn't harder to balance than our current system. It's just a different thing to balance from our current system. Our current system only has, 7 knobs to tweak. This one has 8. You should expect that in an optimal state, this gets better. But it's a whole new difficulty to get this right. And when you have static classifications of hero tiers, just regardless of tribal bands, then that one's going to be awkward. I feel like this is a starting point, and they should really just get rid of the categories and make these things change based upon tribal bands. That would be a good logical step forward. That being said, take another step back and say, this is a great change. I love the fact that they're iterating on the game to a point where we get a bunch of these kind of changes that allow for a bunch more of the heroes to actually be viable. We talked about it yesterday that there were like 20 to 25 heroes that Blizzard could reasonably remove from the game, and they only impact like 5% of lobbies. Like, when's the last time you saw a Pyramid in your game? When's the last time you saw a Guff in your game? AFK, Cariel, Chinvala. I mean, we had a Chinvala yesterday in one game, but still. Elise. There's like 20 heroes that are basically never picked now. I'm talking about competitive tier lobbies. Some people are, everybody's at different ratings. But look at Zephyrs. Look at Shudderwalk. Gallywix, Cat, Eudora, Bran, Lich, even Sarafang. Like these heroes, you give them more time, they are significantly better games. RTU won his game with Chinvala at full health. See, disproven immediately. No. But in general, these heroes are not picked, right? These are heroes that are not typically ever used in the game right now. Now, there are a lot of other heroes that are going to really dislike this armor system. Heroes that, for example, Daryl, that like games being short. RDU high rolled? No way. You telling me that winning a game with a tier 4 hero at 40 health is a high roll? No. Wait, somebody slap me. No. One with 43 health, that's an achievement right there. But heroes like Daryl, for example, or Kurtrus, they really like games being quick, and this is going to slow down the game. Now, one of the big side effects of what Diablo does to lobbies is Diablo effectively, when high rolling, or at least like playing efficiently in the mid game and having a decent board, creates an environment that everybody in the lobby except for Diablo effectively has like 15 less health over the course of 2 fights. That makes the overall average turn length of those games very, very, very short. And I know RDU's chat coming in for Diablo talk. The master of Diablo himself. But what it does is massively shorten the game. What you're seeing here is effectively an increase in total health pool on average in the lobby, which is going to shift the game to a little bit greedier of a form. We already have a pretty greedy meta when Diablo's not in the lobby. We call it, high roll meta, or whatever you want to say, because you get to a place where a lot of boards are just unachievable high rolls that you can't match by about turn 10. If you give incentive for people to pick more heroes that are more high rolly, and you give them the time to get online, heroes like this are going to be very, very, very unhappy. Daryl sitting there going, nobody's dying. I'm over here dancing. This sucks. Is not a good place for Daryl to be. All right, we've dwelled long enough on this. New hero. New hero, chat. All right. New hero. Tamsin Roame. 0 cost hero power. Start of combat. Destroy the lowest health minion. Give its health to all your others. So, effectively, the first thing that I would see when I look at this hero is that it destroys a minion. That means it eats 1 gold. You are destroying 1 minion on your board to take a temporary buff, aka playing with 6 minions and taking a really nice Diablo buff for a turn, burning a gold for next turn. The minion comes back. The minion comes back? Why does it say that? Why doesn't it say... Like, I don't want to play 20 questions with patch notes. Like, this is what happens. It happens during the fight. Yeah, I guess we can make that read, right? That it destroyed in combat should stay out of combat. We can make that read. It's not something that we've had before, but I guess that's a logical extension. Like, it's very unlike Sylvanas used to be, which is consumed in buy phase. He was also surprised. I mean, I'm not self-conscious about making that read because this is not a behavior that we have in the game right now. Being wrong about something that we have not seen yet is natural. But good to know. No, says Grig. No. Thanks, dude. Good with Goldrin and Omega Buster, I guess. It's situationally okay for those kind of boards. Trying to think what affects the first 8 turns of the game. Like, there have been very, very, very few heroes in the scope of this game that are good tier heroes if they do not have a tangible impact on the first 8 turns of the game. This does not help you in any way at building a better board state. Period. Right? Doesn't matter one bit about making a better board state. You aren't going to get economy. You're not going to get triples. You're not going to be able to power level. You're going to have to play the game like your cat. But what you get to do is create a better combat board. End game hero, but if you don't build a good board, you don't get to end game. These are things that, like, you have to be able to find a way to stabilize a game to get to that point. Terracosa boards would be good. Terracosa boards would be good. It's a way to add another buff to Terracosa. Amusingly, it sounds like a way to make Terracosa meme build work with 2 units. Because all you need is Trickster to proc once. Trickster to be smaller than Terracosa. Now you're not going to get like 8 million health. 83 million, my bad. We'll use our number. Terracosas, but hundreds of health Terracosa would be very possible. Now don't get me wrong, I said 2 minions. We don't have to play 2 minions. You buff everything, right? But there's a place there for some value. Terracosa with it makes sense. Makes sense for later game boards. Things like mid-range type like Quilboar boards are very, very, very strong. This is adding health, remember? You're just going to make like those blood gem boards 10-10, 20-20 across the board, and then push that button and add, if you have a 20-20 across the board, then it adds 120 health to the board. That's really good. By everything, you mean multiple Terracisa? But yeah, you could have multiple Terracosas. Terracisa. You can trigger specific death rattles, yeah, if you build it correctly, but you don't always have that flexibility. Like, putting yourself in a position where you want to trigger a specific death rattle means you can't play other minions around it in a lot of situations, which does make this highly situational. I think the hero is okay. Don't get me wrong, I'm not writing her off immediately. I will definitely play her. I think she's going to be one of those heroes that wants to play full tempo in the mid game and then just push the button every turn and stabilize for health. It's going to make her a hero that is very similar to the way Daryl plays, that she spikes in the mid game but doesn't have real final board states, where you can build a decent board. Light Fang Pirates might be okay. Yeah, consuming that Light Fang every turn will be just great, dude. Remember, it's destroy the lowest health minion on your board. Yay, 2-2 or 2 health. Pirate boards absolutely make sense. Big Quilboar boards were my first thought on boards that build all of their minions to like the same size. Generally speaking, those like wide Quilboar boards, you get extra blood gems offered to you. You know, Agam boards do the same thing. Light Fang with Rag. So for turn 6, 7, 8, 9, you get a 2, 5, 8. Seems fine. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. It's just not great, right? Oh, Rag, fucking Little Rag. Yeah. We might be able to get some procs there. I was going to say, wait, that's 2 hero powers. What are we talking about? This isn't the Halloween event. But she seems okay. Trying to think if there's any other interesting areas to talk about surrounding Roame. I don't know. It's my favorite Bofur streamer? Oh, I'm glad I elevated to the favorite Bofur. If I was the second favorite Bofur, I think I'd just quit. Does it trigger death rattles? It should. It says destroy the lowest health minion. So it should trigger the death rattle. It's a really good card for winning mid-game rounds. It's really good for building stat boards, but stats don't always matter. Wide Murlocs doesn't make much sense because you have to play Cycle Spots and or Bran. Light Fang boards don't make sense because you have a Light Fang on the board. It has to be something like Agam, Ground Shaker, whatever. Like those kind of boards. But Ground Shaker doesn't build baseline health, so you're only going to get like a 10-10 at best. Agam boards do, which is nice. Agam, pirates in general, triggering Exodia pirates, that's nice. But like, remember, we have to play the game with a marginal impact hero power, get to a final comp without any economy or triple help, to get to a point that it's a little bit better at playing a specific composition. Not exactly what we consider a good situation to be in. Exodia Pirates, cool. You can guarantee the first proc, but if you build it well, you can already do that. Like, saying it has a good value for an in-game position effectively means that, great, it will be good in this situation. But if you can't get to that situation, then it's not going to be a good hero overall. We'll see. And we're going to let this one go. I think she's going to be interesting. I think she's going to be a really good tempo hero. And I think she will, when played, similar to Daryl, be a viable hero to play. I'm not convinced this is overpowered by any means. This is really with Ground Shaker. After playing the gems, it's better not to hero power the Shaker. Shaker comps don't have hit points, and with hit points, you probably lose full buff shielded minion and gain little hit. Yeah, it's kind of the problem. Ground Shaker bad. Agam good when you're talking about this hero power. Ground Shaker bad, Agam good. APM Pirates is a way to make it work. Sans Bran. But generally speaking, I think it's going to be mid-range boards that you really get some value off of this. Cute and Scam Pirates, Exodia Pirates. I mean, this doesn't build to that. It just helps that build, right? And they're kind of going in opposite directions. We'll see. Doesn't seem great to me. Seems okay. Seems like this is a very similar hero to where when Daryl excels, a hero like this will excel. You are very good in the middle rounds. Updated hero. Mythrax? I mean, if Mythrax is the smallest unit on your board, great. You have very few problems if Mythrax is the smallest unit on your board. Diablo getting a buff again. Diablo getting buffs to 3 of his spells. Now, to be fair, this also buffs other people if they get a hold of those spells, but Diablo gets more of these than anybody else, so by comparison, Diablo's still going to be pretty good. Don't get Mythrax. Mythrax still bad. Menagerie still bad. Mythrax was one of the best units in the game prior to the Overhaul patch. We'll see how it shakes out in this current meta. But Mythrax is a very good card. Sigil of Hell. AoE damage goes from 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 6 to 8, 12 to 16. I don't think I've ever seen this one. I had no idea this existed. Shit, man. There's tier 4 versions of these things? I've never seen a tier 4 version of Diablo spell. Claws of Terror being just a little bit bigger buff, and AoE attack a little bit higher. Okay. I don't think there's anything bad here. This is a big change. 3 to 8 after turn 12 spell. I think they're just worth noting that Diablo is going to be a little bit more effective. We're not going to dwell on this forever. Oh, the 3 to 4 breakpoint seems a little underwhelming. No. This is a good change. Diablo is already overperforming, but now it makes him a little bit stronger, and a stronger Diablo makes a more interesting event. IMO. And, believe it or not, they extended the Diablo date. We'll be sticking around a little bit longer. It was supposed to be gone today. So, RDU fans, rejoice. More Diablo incoming. I haven't been playing Diablo because I figured he was gone today, and who cares about learning a hero that's going to be gone very quickly. Now we're going to keep him even longer. I guess that's okay. Why not just keep Diablo in forever? Because he's not a Warcraft character. I mean, it's kind of the reason, right? Like, what they just added was a temporary hero. If they made it any other hero, they just used any random hero in Warcraft, they probably would have just been like, yeah, this could stay. But it's really a situational, like a launch event, right? Diablo invading all of the other games. A hero like this could exist in the game. Hate Diablo as a game concept? I don't. I think games being varied is important. And not every game feeling the same is good. Bristleback Knight, gone. I don't know how to feel about this. I like Bristleback Knight. Situational to use, good in very specific scenarios. And now, not good in any scenario. He's gone. Sad. Making room for Mythrax returning. So 1 Quilboar gone, 1 Quilboar added. We'll get to that in a second. Mythrax on Tavern 5 coming back. So now the distribution of Quilboars is now lower tier. And everybody gets back another 5. And this is a good 5 to triple into, remember. Getting an early 5-star Mythrax carries games. So one of the reasons why tripling in the 5s is a little bit weaker in this meta is there aren't enough versatile hits that are good for a wide variety of boards. Hitting a Mythrax is almost always a good card. Yes, sure, it may not be the best one you're looking for, but the vast majority of times in the middle of the game, unless you are a tribal-centric hero, you're like Flurgle or whatever, you can make use of a Mythrax, which now makes 5 stars a little bit better than they were before. Good. 5 stars are pretty weak right now. We need a little bit balance there. Mythrax as a card I think is very healthy for the game. It increases the value of a couple heroes in the game, Daryl being one, Mutinous being another, heroes that typically don't need 5 stars for direction but like passive stats. Cthulhu is another one. That they take that 5-star shot, and if they get a hold of a unit like Mythrax, it's just a boon to their board. The vast majority of 5 stars are not useful to you in those scenarios. This one is a good one. Mythrax plus Lightfang equals easy MMR. I mean, maybe if you're at like 40 rating. Lightfang scaling in current year? Keck W? Meta's too fast now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's true. You're telling me that on turn 6 or turn 7, if you triple into a unit that grows at a range of about 3-6 to 4-8 a turn, we're not talking about just go wide menagerie. We're talking about a unit that becomes passively a 20 to 30 health minion over the course of turns 6, 7, 8, 9 type of range. That's not a good unit to have. Like, there's a lot of people that look at the final board state and say, this thing just doesn't do anything in the final board state. But forget that getting a unit like this allows you to just level to 6. Stepping stone pieces like Mythrax are incredibly important for versatility and leveling. It's a passive scaler that wins mid-game rounds. This is good. Nobody keeps Lightfang, but everyone buys it for a turn or two? I don't know the last time I had a Lightfang on my board. I don't know. 6 months ago? 4 months ago? Can't say there's been a time where I've had one recently. We don't triple in the 5s. If you triple in the 4s, you already have your direction. You're not going menagerie. Alrighty. Mechano Tank gets a nerf. Frank took a nerf. Avenge 2 still deals 5 damage instead of 6 and has a baseline stat line of 5-3 instead of 6-3. A small situational change. I don't think that's a big deal. When was the last time you saw a golden Lightfang? Mythrax scales 5 times slower than Lightfang? What? You must be playing a different game. People that hate on Mythrax are the people that are the most sus to me. People that don't think that a card that passively scales with no effort from you is useful in the middle of the game. Just, watch the game for a little while longer. You realize it's good. I mean, shit, it's the same reason it was good a few patches ago, right? Prior to the Overhaul patch, Mythrax was the single highest win rate, second highest win rate unit when tripled into on turn 6 or 7. Mama Bear being number 1, Mythrax being number 2. There's a reason you take it. It's definitely not bad. Yo, Necrotasi. My god. Nitocracy. Thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate the support. But yeah, the Mechanotank change is definitely a nerf. Definitely a big deal. Doesn't make this unit unplayable by any means. It's not like we're like, oh my god, Mechanotank can't play it anymore, only deals 5 damage. But a good change nonetheless. Overplayed. One of the better 5-star or 4-stars to triple into. Fit nearly every comp in the middle of the game. Made Sneed a little bit too impressive. I think it's perfectly fine. This is a good change. We will see, dude. I don't argue with chat. One of the things I'm working on as a streamer is just letting people be wrong. You can be wrong. Everybody here, it's now baby bzz instead of bzz. Bzz. Instead of bzz, it's bzz. That's it. It's a small change. If you can't hear the difference, then you know. That's all. And Greasebot. Old. Changed from 2-1 to 1-1 permanently. AKA scaling is reduced, attack is reduced, Divine Shield units not getting as much attack. That is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. Absolutely huge deal. Lifething's bad because it slowly scales your whole board and you can't sell anything. Mythrax is great because you can roll through your board and upgrade your comp while being a big minion with all the buffs. Exactly. Not only that, but you can just keep it on the board. It's like the games where you power level with Golden Wrathweaver and you end up not being demons, but you have a 30-30 Wrathweaver on the board. Like, it's really good. Why is your wall purple? Because I changed the color of the light. I like it. It's a different look. Deal with it. Change is scary for chat, I know. But I have a purple wall now. Don't get why this card was nerfed, Greasebot, because its win rate was really high. Like, we can check data for it. Greasebot, when tripled into, was a top 4 card, right? Why this one was chosen specifically? Because there are certain heroes that are oppressive with this card. George being one of them. Mech comps in general are way better with Greasebot. It's not like it's a massive change to people that use it, or heroes that use it situationally. But this kind of change to like George makes it so that he's not, you know, tier 1 hero range with this one card. I like the change personally. It's a perfectly fine way of adjusting a card that was overperforming. Definitely makes it a little bit weaker though. We can live with that. Scallywag. What the hell? Second time here 2 days in a row. How you doing? Yo, was a bamboozle? How'd you end up here? I would pick Greasebot even if I had no Divine Shields. Yeah, depending on when you tripled into it. Sometimes you just pick it up early and then you just pivot into it. But it's a very strong card. It is analytically the 4th strongest card when tripled into on turns 4, 5, 6. Right? We have data for this. That being said, I universally use that across the board, but it overperforms on some heroes, underperforms on other ones, etc., etc., etc. It's still an incredibly strong card. I'm still waiting for them to explain the relationship between Grease and Divine Shields. Yeah, I mean, if you oil your Bronze Warden, or grease your Bronze Warden, it becomes much shinier and does more attack. How do you not get these things? Come on, man. Intuitive. If it said mechs, it would make some sense. But yeah, thematically doesn't really work. I prefer my Bronze Wardens very well greased. Okay? Hey, what's up, Royota? Thank you for the 8 months. I realize that sound is not in the video, so people are going to be like, why are you so quiet? Hey, Bofer, Salt Mine Gophers. This is the new Keck W. Keck W, dude. But yeah, this is cool. Harder to scale mechs now? Yep, that's fine, though. Perfectly fine. Like, you don't need to scale mechs. Mechs are overperforming, and mechs are better as piecewise compositions. They're not better as these, like, let's build a wide board of Divine Shields and scale it repeatedly. Now, having that flexibility was a reason why mechs were overperforming, right? Taking away one of the tools or reducing the prevalence of one of the tools helps bring the game back into balance. That's fine. Divine Shield is one of the most oppressive mechanics in the game. I would agree. It's one of the best power spikes in the game right now. Which, when games are so short, I would agree with that statement, Nefarious. Absolutely. Making them less good is a good thing? Yep. Yep. Scallywag. No idea why they changed this card. Net buff early game, net nerf to Exodia? Okay. I guess. Scallywag doesn't protect Khadgar anymore from Zap. What else does this do? Makes Scallywag trade 2 stars better in the early game. But who plays 2 stars? This is an odd one to change. I don't know if this is actually like... I wonder what data prompted this change. It's probably just they wanted to buff a bunch of pirate comps, and they chose to just like take a bunch of them and change their stats on them. But it feels like this is little impact in the early game and is a net nerf to an in-game composition. Odd. Also wins against the 1/4 elemental. Yeah, I think they actually intended this to be a buff. Because the overall read on pirates here is that they buffed up a bunch of things that were bad. Yeah. But they're kind of leaving a weird position. Is that a blanket or is that Lee in the corner of a dog cam? That is Lee. I got you, fam. It's Lee. There's him. And they're very hard to see at the moment considering that they both have their backs to you. She's trying to nest. You having fun, girl? Also, I don't have the dog light on. Yeah, I know. Everything's okay. There you go. Dog light's on now. She's going to continue to try to nest. Mythrax is back. A lot of people like Mythrax. I'm a big fan of it too. We'll see what happens. Yo-Ho changing from a 2/6 to a 3/5. Good. 2/6 is an awkward style line. Makes this card a lot more tempting to pick up for people that aren't playing pirates, aka everybody on turn 3 or 4. Overall quality of 2 stars just went up. 2 stars suck, and we don't go to 2 for a reason. Just a more tempting unit to play in general. Makes this card a little bit weaker in some counterplay situations. For example, Exodia Pirates. So when you're countering Exodia, Yo-Ho used to be a way that you could deal with Scallywag spam. Now, don't get me wrong, you usually buff the Yo-Ho anyway. But we will see. I'm trying to think if there's any weird scenarios where this is a net buff or nerf at a place that isn't just directly related to its stat line in the middle of the game. And I can't really see it. It seems fine. Seems like a good buff. On a unit that needs a buff. Make this a little bit bigger. Strong Arm. Gets I'm not even going to read the whole text. It's an extra 1/1. Instead of it just saying for each pirate 1/1, it says give a pirate 1/1 and repeat. In other words, get an extra 1/1. So Strong Arm is now a significantly better unit when you have a pirate on the board. It is better with Bran, better in Exodia Pirates. It's just better, right? Just better. The card is a lot better. Not a lot to dwell on. It's just a 1/1 better, and 1/1 is important at the middle of the game. So, Grip Snarl goes from a 4/5 to a 4/6, aka better at staying alive. Cool, great, good stuff, healthy for the game. Two Tusk, old Avenge 5 makes a minion gold permanently. New Avenge 4 makes another pirate golden permanently. Oh my god, I can't read. AKA, you don't have to get as much of a tailored Avenge board to get this thing to proc. This is actually a really, really, really good change for late game pirates. It's already really strong, but now it's a lot easier to proc. You don't need to like put 2 Death Rattle minions on the board to reliably proc it. Like 1 Acolyte plus a decent comp almost always procs. Thumbs up. You have an idea of how these pirate changes will impact patches overall? No. Because the speed of the meta is what makes patches weak. not the prevalence of pirates. The changes to the pirates in terms of their stats will help patches. Reducing the prevalence of mechs will help patches. But it is the speed of the game right now that is making patches bad. And that means that that isn't really going to be something that we can predict from this patch, whether or not that changes radically. We'll have to play the game to find out. I think Tony's offered way too often. It's offered the same rate as every other unit. The same number of copies in the pool. Tough Tusk goes from 4-3 to... Okay, overall, these are all net positive stat line buffs to pirates to bring them a little bit back. Patches gets armor now, right? I mean, he should. Like all heroes that aren't the top tier ones. Nobody takes them a lot in the pool. It doesn't affect that much. Like, there are only, what, 5, 6, 7 copies of 5 stars out of the pool the majority of the time where you're looking for 5 stars. That's like out of the 400 or 300 copies of, not 300, 200 copies of 5 stars that are in the pool. 5 of them are gone. It's not that nobody takes them. That's the reason why 2 Tusk is offered a bunch. It's that you don't want it and you notice when it's offered to you. It really is a bias. That when you see something like that being offered too much, you notice it because it's the one that you can't use. But, it'll be a little bit more usable now, which is cool. Hogger plus 2 Tusk is really strong, but you never buy 2 Tusk until you get into a position where you can actually play that kind of stuff. But, yeah, lots of but. Alright, Overhaul to Pirates looks like all positive things for the middle of the game. Playable minions, but you still aren't going to pull the trigger to play Pirates until you get a hold of Hogger or Eliza, right? Like, can't see any reason why I would be buying up Pirates in the middle of this game, even with their new stat lines, and be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing this game. If only I find Eliza, you know? Like, that's a terrible position to put yourself in. All you have to, like, you triple into 2 6 stars, and the only ones that are usable, Hamul or Eliza. Don't corner yourself like that in the middle of the game. Now, I mean, makes patches better. Definitely. But we'll see. And they also did an overhaul on Quilboars. Remember, they removed Bristleback Knight, and they added Thorncaller back. I didn't even mention that. Let's make that statement now that we're near the Quilboar stuff. Thorncaller's returned to the minion pool, a.k.a. what, the single best 3-star in the game in Quilboar meta? Thorncaller, a minion that starts as a 5-4 total stat line and generates a 1-1 buff per turn, usable on whatever you want. Seems like a 3-star that I would like to have on my board. You mean over the course of the first, like, 7 turns, it's close to a 10-10? That's pretty good. 4-3, it was nerfed? No, it's a 4-3 that generates a blood gem on the first turn, so it's a 5-4. And then it has a death rattle each turn that's a 1-1. You gonna call me out on the stats? It said total stat line. You gotta get it. Just keep up, dude. Keep up. What's Thorncaller and Bristleback Knight? You can Google it. The units themselves have been in the game for a long time and or removed. So you gotta stick with it. Tough Tusk. 4-3 old stat line is up to 5-3. We are with a point at a point in this game where Divine Shields are pseudo-oppressive, and they just gave a pseudo-Divine Shield minion more attack to start. Thorncaller is 4-3 because Battlecry and Death Rattle gets a gem. Exactly. That's why it's a 5-4 stat line the turn you play it, and potentially a 1-1 buff per turn afterwards. The Tough Tusk getting a buff here feels a little weird. Doesn't feel like this is a unit that when you buy it in the middle of the game really needs to be any stronger. 5-3 is a very nice stat line, especially with 1 blood gem and easier early blood gems with Thorncaller. It's actually a pretty tangible buff, right? This thing getting early access to Divine Shields with Thorncaller being in the game. The Thorncaller change is the big one here, guys. But also just having 1 more attack in the middle of this game is actually impactful. Interesting buff. I wouldn't have done this one, personally. I don't think this needed to change, but shrug. I guess that's on our list for the day. Bristleback Brute. Old 4-4. When you play a blood gem on it, give it an extra 2-2. New 3-3. Might as well say new old, right? 3-3. The first blood gem played on this gives an extra 3-3. AKA the original form of Bristleback Brute. They've changed it 3 times now, right? It is now in its original state once again. This was the unit that was breaking. This and Thorncaller, quote unquote, broke the 1.0 version of the Quilboar patch. Everybody was going to 3-on-3 looking for Bannerboar, Bristleback Brute, and Thorncaller. Because Bristleback Brute's passive scaling via any blood gem was too much to compete with, and you just ended up with boards that couldn't lose mid-game rounds. Now they have nerfed Bannerboar since then. It's a 1-4 instead of a 2-5 like it was initially, which is a huge nerf. And Thorncaller was removed from the game. Now we have Thorncaller back. Bannerboar is reduced still in stats, but Bristleback Brute is back to its original form. That's very close to the original form of Thorncaller, or Quilboars, which was really oppressive. Now, they reverted Charga buff. Agamagon's still in the game. Like, it's almost 1.0 level Quilboars. The Minion Overhaul patch, though, is what has changed the game so radically. Is a big question mark on how Quilboars fit into that new style of playing this game. But generally speaking, I think this is a pretty good buff. You don't buy Bristleback Brutes unless you get a hold of blood gems. This dude right here scales better now than he did before with active or consistent blood gems. What the fuck is mana? It's a thing that you say that you use when you misspeak. Bring back Golden Bonky? Yeah, we don't need that back. Golden Bonkerino was not fun to deal with. Oh, look, 8/8 extra stats this turn. Yay! Now, we will get there in a second with the changes. I'm not sure why they aren't in mana order for Quilboars, because we should talk about Necrolite next, but... Dynamic Duo. Old, 4/5. New, 5/6. Old, used to be 5/6 beforehand, too. They reverted another change. Dynamic Duo is back in its original form. Much more tempting to pick up a 5/6 in the middle of the game if you don't have blood gems or blood gem synergy. Not a massive change to the late game state of the board, just easier to pick up. Good, 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 good. Necrolite. Now this is the interesting one. Tier 3 to Tier 4. Alright, let's start with Necrolite has moved tiers. Old Battlecry, choose a friendly minion. It steals all blood gems from its neighbors, aka move your blood gems wherever you want them. New, play 2 blood gems on a friendly minion. It steals all blood gems from its neighbor. Bob? What? Why? You want a way to just, hey, look, we have a Baron on the board. Now it's a buffed Baron. This is the first time in this game that we can target a unit of any tribe and give it a buff. This is 2 blood gems on any unit. Bran, yeah, Bran's 4/4. Just the fact that it can steal blood gems is a useful tech card. This is now just a 2/2 buff to whoever the hell you want it to be. So, like, sure, it's a 4-star, which makes it a little bit more balanced, don't get me wrong. But it is by far a more versatile card in this game now. Quilboars being in gives you the ability to take a bunch of different mid-rangey type builds and make them a little better. I don't get it. How does it work? Read the text. Play 2 blood gems on a unit, then steal from a neighbor's. It's literally the old text, but also adds 2 copies of blood gem to a unit. Mean other blood gems can be targeted anyway? Correct. But it is another way to activate and battle cry blood gems. Bran plus Ground Shaker is 8 blood or 8 attack to the board, right? There are a lot of ways, like Bran plus Agam is already a combo that you keep in the game. 4 blood gems on an Agam, pretty good. You know, like there's reasons why this is very, very, very strong. And when you get to those states of the game, this is another tool to make Quilboar boards that already rely upon blood gems or counterplay boards that are playing things like Zap very, very, very good. Like Bran sticks to Agam boards most of the time. If you can get a hold of a Bran, you pick it up. Bran plus Necrolite now is 4 blood gems added to Agam. These are good things, guys. Like this is good concentration or power being consolidation. It's a consolidation of stats onto minions that you want to buy for this board. And Necrolite now isn't just a utility card, it's actually a buff as well. So you don't feel bad being like, I have to waste 2 gold to move my stats from Bonker over to something that I'm going to keep on the board instead of just selling it. Because it's like, 2 gold is net 4/4 stats. And choosing to move blood gems in the middle of the game is really bad because you're just losing those stats. Now, you're going to be a little bit more liberal in the middle of the game with using your blood gems because you can always move them. Necrolite's a really good pickup at that point. A 2/2 buff isn't something that you scoff at. And you're just happy with the whole, like, hey, we can make this work for a variety of compositions. And we get a passive 2/2, where we would have used the Necrolite to salvage our blood gems before we sell stuff off the board in the middle of the game. Board space seems like a problem? It always is. Why wouldn't it be? But name a comp that you don't cycle stuff. Like, let's be realistic here. You're going to cycle stuff. All right. Look at all these things for not our mode. There is bug fixes down here. That should probably be looked at real quick. There are a couple Battlegrounds things. Oh, Battlegrounds party invite's not working. Wouldn't that be nice? That worked consistently? Yeah, I don't really care about the rest. Can't see anything that's major here. Major domo. Oh. Loading screen wheel would appear zoomed when a player joined a Battleground party spectating a game. Good to know. All right. So, that's the end of the patch. This will be a lot of fun to play. It's live now. Let's go play it. All right. Only an hour into the stream. It's not like we spent forever doing this or anything.